Hello everybody, this is Goji73 here, not with a review this time, but with a showcase of sorts. If you remember my Gyango review a week ago, you'll notice that I said that he was my last official purchase at this year's G-Fest. Well, that's actually a little untrue. In reality, I did buy one more figure at the convention. Who was it? Well, since I'm never going to do a review on him, the Final Wars Godzilla. However, this is not the Final Wars Godzilla that I bought at the G-Fest. Instead, I had this Final Wars Godzilla shipped to somebody. A certain somebody who specializes in toy customization, as well as other types of customizations. And with it, with G-Fest still in my mind, well, at the time, here is who that Godzilla was transformed into. You saw it on his channel on YouTube. Here it is with me now. Gfantis from G-Fest. Now, first off, before I get on with this showcase, instead of like my normal reviewing styles, I will still be doing history as well as detail coverage, as well as point out articulation. However, I will not be doing superpowers because unfortunately this is at a higher quality that Vegas does not pick up. And I will not be giving this a rating because it would be an instant 10 out of 10. The commissioner, known as DimwittedDinobot's on YouTube and ClawCarvedCustom on his website, went through a lot of work to make this guy. So, you know, the least I can do is give him a 10 out of 10 because of all the hard work he put into it. So let's get on to the showcase. Now first off, as far as history-wise goes, from what I could tell looking on the website at gfan.com, Gfantis was sort of like Godzilla, only instead of being created or mutated by atomic testing, he was created by a solar power plant explosion, which ultimately mutated him into the monster you're looking at now. And as a result, that was the origin of his character. And so he goes on to be the Godzilla equivalent to this year's G-Fest. Now, as far as G-Fest-wise goes, though, what I just covered back there was the character's history. Since I'm not sure exactly when he was introduced at G-Fest, but since I've gone to G-Fest 11, or started going since that time, I've noticed G-Fest all over the place, and he's sort of like the mascot of the convention. Whereas Godzilla and Gamera, and recently Ultraman, are becoming the source, the source of popularity and recognition, Gfantis is sort of like the mascot that comes out and says hello to everybody and, you know, has been getting a lot of recent limelight lately, so yeah, he's growing in popularity at every convention, and he's basically there to say, hey, look at me, even though everything's about Godzilla. And I've taken a recent liking to this monster. You know, he's an original creation, he's got a decent backstory, something like Godzilla, and, well, his creator, J.D. Lees, is actually putting him to good use, even making fan films. If you've been watching on YouTube, he's recently made a fan film that parodies Godzilla vs. the Thing, so yeah, really interesting monster, and that's why I had ClawCarvedCustom make him, because I took a liking to him. And so that's just about it over the character's history, as well as history in general. Now, let's get on to detail. Now, the commissioner of this, whose name I believe I'm going to leave anonymous so as to not, you know, expose who he is, ClawCarvedCustom did a really, really good job on this figure. I mean, you'll notice that a lot of here new additions, these were created with epoxy, I believe. His own video on this monster actually explains what he used, so if you want a more accurate idea of what he did here, I'd suggest going and watching it. I'll probably link his video in with mine, so that way you can see for yourself. But anyway, I believe he made this out with epoxy, and it turned out magnificent. I mean, you'll notice here all these spots all over his body. Gfantis is covered with black spots, and these obviously stick out a lot and, you know, show the character just how much he looks like. As well as the spikes on his back here, too. These were also made out of epoxy, and they turned out pretty well. They're supposed to be pointed up, but, you know, it's debatable. This is fine the way it is. The chest, too, is also made out of epoxy, I believe, and carved separately to resemble Titanosaurus's chest because, you know, it looks like Titanosaurus's, and that looked great. The head, too, is also captured really nice. The eyes are whited out in regards to the Jeff Renber design of him. And, you know, the head spikes are also really nice, too, and the head crescent is really nice. So, apart from that, detail is magnificent. There is only one tiny flaw, though, but I'm not going to hold it against the creator, and that's this particular side of his head has 2 spikes, whereas the other side has 3, like it should. But, like I said, minor flaw, and, you know, I had very limited resources at the time to use. So, you know, I will say this out to the people who gave me some pictures, like Billy Dubose of Godzilla Battle Royal, and Frank Parr of Kaijuverse on DeviantArt. They were really helpful in giving me pictures and resources on what the monster looked like. So, I just want to give a thanks out to them for helping me and giving me the resources, because at the time, I didn't think to, you know, record any of the stuff at G-Fest, because I was having too much fun with my friends, so, sorry. It's my fault. I'm not going to hold it against the commissioner, because, you know, he worked hard on this, and it's the least I could do. Also, there was one little tiny flaw that I managed to fix by myself, and that was the head crescent. I'm not entirely sure which glue that ClawCarvedCustom's used, but unfortunately, when I opened the box, in the shipping box, the crescent horn had broken off, so I had to use super glue to straighten it and keep it from breaking off again, and it worked pretty well, but, you know, just missing horn and one that came off, minor problem. It's not his fault. He did a great job on everything else, so yeah, no real problem. Now, as for superpowers, according to online resources, he does have a few. He can thrive in magma. He is a powerful grappler. He uses his tail as a weapon, much like Godzilla. Also, now if you go to G-Fest, he does have one noticeable superpower. The horn crescent on here, he can fire a heat ray from it. So that looks almost lightning-based. And that's sort of like his equivalent to Godzilla's atomic ray. He also is said to fire an oral heat ray, but we've never seen that, so I'm not entirely sure how true that is. And he also draws strength from sunlight, so that's actually pretty interesting too. And that just about does it for superpowers. Now, as for articulation, he does have the same as Godzilla's. Both his arms would rotate the same as Godzilla's do, as do the legs. They rotate like Godzilla's would. But, you know, because they get in play, they scuff up against the additional customs, that's just about all that can rotate. The neck, however, I don't want to try and, you know, damage the custom, so only 4 points, but, you know, that's really nice that he can allow, that ClawCarvedCustom's allowed the figure to still rotate, because it'd be nice using this guy for a fan film of some sort. You know what I mean? Except for that. And now let's get on to sizing. Seeing as he did use a Godzilla figure, let's pull out Godzilla. And as you can tell, this is just about as accurate as it could be if Godzilla were, you know, whatever era size this would be. I'm not entirely sure of what Gfantis' height is per se, but overall I think this is pretty accurate. I mean, again, this was made from a Godzilla custom, and most of the time the Godzilla figures do scale up well with other monsters, so this works out pretty well. And that does it for this showcase. Detail, like I said, fantastic. It is a custom. Superpowers is a few. Sizing is great. Articulation is basic, but works great. So, yeah, that's it for the showcase. And before I end it, To ClawCarvedCustoms and Dimwitted Dinobot on YouTube, I just want to say thank you very much for making this figure. It is a magnificent job you've done. And for anybody who is interested, I will be linking his channel to this video, so that way you can check out some of his other stuff too. He also does customs, which mostly range in the Spider-Man business. Like, he mostly does symbiote characters, which turn out to be really, really great. And he also does customs, so if you ever want him to make a custom, go look him up. And so that's it for this showcase. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you all later. And once again, to ClawCarvedCustoms and Dimwitted Dinobot's, thank you very, very much. This is a great custom.